Hello and welcome in to episode 3 of Broncos Europe Weekly, which of course by now we have all figured out that isn't actually a weekly show anymore. We do it sort of as and when our schedules work. As ever, I'm joined by my co-host Kieran Morley. Welcome into the show, Kieran.
Yeah, good evening, Mark. Happy to be back for week 5, week 3, I think.
Week 5 on the schedule, but week 3 of our little schedule ourselves. So, I'm just going to send a little link out for everyone here. Whilst I do that, of course, we are sponsored by Endzone Kit. We're proudly presented by those. They are the biggest sort of American sports items for the whole family. They do sizes from newborn to 3XL. They're from Denver themselves, and they're the largest stockists in the UK, hands down, of some quirky collector items straight from the Mile High City. You can get fast free delivery from Southampton, so you don't have to pay those pesky little fees, and you can save a little 10% extra by using the code Broncos at Europe. And if you are heading down to the London games themselves, you can pick up some bargains there, as Rene and the team will be at our meetups, and more details about those will be talked about later. So, Kieran, how do you feel we have done in the last few weeks? There's a lot around it.
I think it's been a bit of a roller coaster, Mark, in a way that I think I think we last covered the Texans game and we're heading into Raiders week. 49ers week, and we're expecting we'd had a couple of games that was the pre-season, so to speak, for the guys who hadn't played together, was maybe out of the way and hoping to hit big. And yeah, it was really not the game we're expecting. I mean, that first drive almost sent shockwaves because the D that had been performing really well, and we just let them waltz down the field, and had quite a bit of luck in the air, the 49ers. You think, oof, right, we really need the offense to get cooking this week, so to speak, and because D. But what a strange game that turned out to be, Mark, for me. I think that the defense was fantastic after, especially that second half. I think, you watched it. San Fran had a lot of luck in the air. First half, they were sort of, they were getting some yards. Second half, and I think the three main receivers, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, locked down to 5 yards or something like that through the air. It was something ridiculous. And I just think that, but the offense, we scraped away with the win, but we just didn't look still what we should be doing on paper. It just wasn't there.
I think if you look at it, George Kittle, obviously that was his first game coming back from his injury. And historically, over the sort of the past 5-6 years, Broncos have definitely found it tricky to shut down opposing tight ends. They often eat up yards and score touchdowns on us, but we did hold him to a few yards, didn't we? And then Brandon Ayuk as well. He's sort of a non-factor, obviously. He had a few big catches, but Pat Surtain sort of covered him really well as Debo. He didn't really get going, so I was quite impressed with the defense of that. Of course, moving on to the offense,
I think,
it's a little bit of a... Go on, go for it.
Yeah, just saying on that, Mark, a couple of players for me on the D. I mean, Josie Jewell coming back for his first game back and just hit the ground running. He was phenomenal that game. I think, that was he sort of said that was the standard that we want week in, week out now from Josie. And like you say, you've mentioned Pat Surtain. He's just getting better and better every time you watch him. He's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What a signing he's been.
He just, I'm going back to Josie Jewell. He's just anchors sort of that defense. He's not a flash player, but he comes in and he makes the tackles. He's got a few sacks since he's come back. Unfortunately, I think he went out during the game. Was it the last game, Colts? He went out.
Yeah.
He has been plagued by injuries. I just hope he's fit and healthy going forward.
Yeah. Like you say, it's just that experience on that, isn't it? In that middle, just dictating, reading the players and sort of making the adjustments and stuff for the rest of the guys. He has been, a big welcome back coming in.
Yeah. Shall we discuss the first divisional matchup of our season? We played the Raiders in Las Vegas. Obviously, we came away with the L. Um, 32-23 to the Raiders. We're now 0-1 in the division, and that game took us to 2-2 on the season. What were your hopes going into this one?
Again, I mean, one of the hopes being every game, Mark, it's you're hoping to see the offense just start to gel and sort of hit that. And to be fair, considering that the news has come out this week that Russell was nursing an injury for quite a bit of that game, I think he had one of his best so far, put up some of the better numbers in that game. Obviously, the D, for one, sort of maybe didn't stack up as well as they have been previous games. Letting Josh Jacobs run all over us was very, very disappointing to see. But yeah, I was just hoping to go into that one and, like you say, get that first divisional win. Big important wins, those ones, and just start to see the offense gelling a little bit. It's just, and I think it was swinging our way, Mark. I think we were kind of pushing until the fumble. And, I'm not one to jump, but it was just a gift. It was a gift, and that for me was, don't want to hinge it on one person, but that swung it back. The momentum was kind of ticking in our way. And then,
we were, like you said, it was coming up to half time. We were going to get the ball back after the break. All we had to do was sort of keep hold of the ball, make no silly mistakes. And Melvin, I'm a big defender of Melvin. He's got the talent there. He's still been good for us, but Twitter and social media have just been on his back since then. That's 5 fumbles in 5 games. It's very hard to come back after that. And I think that showed in the next game against the Colts. I mean, we'll move on to that later, but Boone had a fair amount of carries himself, which I didn't think we'd see much of this season. But we've got to back Melvin. He's going to be here for the season, especially with Javonte out. We need to back him. We can't be negative towards it, but I understand that's very hard given the drops and the fumbles in key situations. If we'd have kept hold of that ball, then I think we'd have gone on and won the game.
But yeah, as I say, it was going on our way. I think we're picking up a little bit of momentum at that time. But yeah, it was very disappointing to see it. And like you say, I think, was it 5-5 for this season? I think you had one in the 49ers game that we didn't mention as well. And, it's... but Javonte's out now, and we've brought in Murray, who... yet to see suit up because he just come back from London. But you're still going to be heavily relying on Melvin Gordon and Boone. They know the playbook, their key experience, like you say. And to be fair to him, we didn't entrust the run game too much against the Colts. Probably partially because it just wasn't getting going, and I think the O-line had a little bit. But we'll come on to that one soon. But still got to get behind him. He's on the roster. He's going to remain on the roster, and hopefully, he turns it around for us in the coming weeks.
Let's not joke about that. He is our number 1 running back right now. I back him to come good. He had a decent game against the Colts. Obviously, no touchdowns, and that's probably what we were hoping Melvin Gordon would be in the lineup to do. But he had a decent game, so I'm not too worried going forward. He just needs to solve these issues, keeping hold of the ball, which he did. So, my main thing coming out of the Raiders game, and I hate losing to the Raiders. I absolutely hate it. One of my best mates is a Raiders fan, unfortunately, so we're getting it in the neck from him. But the defense, Josh Jacobs ran for 144 yards. We haven't had that for a while. We've been probably one of the best run defense teams in the league this season. So to let Josh Jacobs, who somehow seems to have the game of his life every time we play him, it's like he turns into Marshawn Lynch or Derrick Henry every time he plays us. It's so frustrating because he's actually not that good a player, in my opinion.
No, it's not like we're coming up against an Aaron Jones or a Jonathan Taylor or a Saquon this year, who's running really. We're talking about a middle order running back. Really, he's not poor, but he is quite good, but he's not approaching that top 10. For me, and we made him look very, very good in that game. But I think one positive I think through this again, we'll see his name again, Mark, for me, is Pat Surtain. I think, sort of did well against Adams. I know Adams had a little bit of luck, but at times, but I think the stats was something like 3 pass breakups and 11 targets is what Surtain had through the air. And he's just he's such a sort of pivotal player, and if we lose, we're not having much luck with injuries on the whole at the moment. But the little scare early in the season where he did he miss a game? Did he miss part of a game? I think he come out.
He went out. Yeah, he definitely went out for a couple of series.
Yeah.
Didn't he? But I was scared. I think we put a message on the Discord and we were like, "Oh, no, he's sort of the one player that we can't afford to lose. He's the pivotal player on defense, and he's going to be sort of a linchpin going forward for the rest of the season and in the Broncos' futures." The big stat that I saw this week was that we lead the league in players on IR. I think we had like $72 million worth on salary on IR or something ridiculous. It might be more, might be less. I might have read that wrong, but that is a hell of a big number for a team to have on injury reserve.
Yeah, and when you look at the positions and stuff as well, I mean, I'm just looking at the depth chart now, the injury report now, Mark, and look at our edge rushers. You've got Baron Browning's questionable, Aaron Patrick's out, Randy Gregory's injured reserve, Christopher Allen's injured reserve. Who else we got? So you're down at the moment to Bradley Chubb and Nick Bonito is without. I think Jonathan Combo come off the. I think is he in the roster now? I know he's elevated from the practice squad. I think he was signed the roster, but Jonathan Cooper out. The depth in some of the positions is starting to. I think we've got a good squad. I think we've got a good roster. The 53 has got some good depth in the reserves, but some positions are starting to wear quite thin, and the way the injuries are stacking up, it only takes a couple more for this to be really, really worrying. You know what I mean?
I think that you touched on Baron Browning being out there. He had, I think I saw this as well. He had the highest pressure rate of any player in one game going, and that was only his first start at outside linebacker, which is scary considering we had him as an inside linebacker at one point. He looked incredible.
Yeah, he looked so quick. Was it one of the players? I think the commentators were questioning how he wasn't
offsides.
Offside. He was so quick off that. It was prime Von, wasn't it? It just that speed. To say,
he is prime Von Miller on that. I think they called him for offsides as well. When I'm not sure he was. He's so quick off the blocks, and he's a mismatch, isn't he? And you've got him coming off, and then you've got Bradley Chubb off the other side, and we were causing pressure all day against the Colts. It was lovely to see, actually. It was one of the bright sparks of that game. And the other time I wasn't asleep when we were on offense. Do you want to stay on Raiders game, or do you want to move over to the Colts?
Yeah, let's move on to the Colts, Mark, and we'll see what you made of that. I think for me it was, I'm just looking at some of the key stats. Seven field goals, 12 punts, 4 interceptions, 6 fumbles, and 6 fumbles with 0 recoveries by the opposing team.
We have got to be the unluckiest team on fumbles I've ever witnessed. Yeah. Always seems to be a record against us, and it's never a positive one.
No. You're watching these games, Mark. You see the little comments now stacking up on the little groups and on Twitter, and we've been on prime time so many times so far this season. To be honest, and it's just it is. You understand why we're getting not us, 2 teams in a game each time, but it's been difficult to watch. In this game last Thursday night, we stayed up for it. 1 o'clock in the morning, you're setting your alarm, and it wasn't entertaining. Nervous for 3.5 hours, or whatever it was, really, because you just didn't know which way it was going to swing, and a field goal was going to win it.
Yeah, it was 4:30 in the morning here, obviously in the UK, and when it's 9:09, you start questioning yourself a little bit. And we're sort of part of the diehard Broncos fans that stay up and watch, but there'll have been people who did stay up and will go, I'm not wasting my time again. I'd rather get to sleep. So the office, the offense really need to clean up their game. Whether we blame Russ, whether we blame Hackett, whether we blame the wide receivers. I saw actually on Twitter before that the offensive line is probably one of the better ones out there. I think we were 3rd best run, creating holes for runs, and we were just above average on the pass blocking. So can we blame that too much?
It's funny because first night it didn't seem that way in terms of creating the lanes, the running lanes and stuff, Mark. And I think we did start the game. I think Melvin, had a few few touches, and then Boone had a few touches, and it seemed like we were trying to find that balance, but it just didn't seem like the running lanes were there. Now, whether that was play calling, individual errors, but it didn't seem to get, the breaks that Josh Jacobs had against us the week before. Do you know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. But yeah, I think, there's another talk about the O-line, Garrett Bowles, who has been phenomenal, really, in terms of where he was first season or so, where we thought, we're starting a liability at left tackle. He come on leaps and bounds, and he's going to be a massive miss. Calvin Anderson coming in.
Yeah, Garrett Bowles is probably one of my favourite players on the roster. Obviously, he's not on the roster at the moment, but it's such bad luck. I saw a report that he would be out for maybe 5 to 6 weeks, and then I think half an hour later they put him on the season-ending list with a broken leg. So how you can come back from a broken leg in 5 to 6 weeks, I have no idea. But he's probably our best lineman. Russ trusts him out there. Yes, he has the occasional hold, but what tackle doesn't in this league now, especially in our AFC West, where the pass rushes are just ridiculous. But like I said, we've got what's he called coming in?
Calvin Anderson,
that's the one.
Yeah.
He's coming in, he'll play left tackle, and hopefully we'll have Billy Turner back on the right side. Now, we've all been sort of criticising the right side of the line. We had Cam Fleming and Graham Glasgow. And now, when we play the Chargers, I've got a feeling it will be Billy Turner out at right tackle and Quinn Miners back at right guard, and that will significantly sort of improve that line, and hopefully the run game will benefit from that as well, which has been suffering in the last few weeks.
Yeah, no, I'd agree, Matt. I think I think Quinn Miners getting Quinn Miners back as well, if we could, for the Chargers game. Like you see, Billy Turner it just gives that right side a bit of a look that again we didn't have, but really, O-line aside, I think there was still opportunity. And yes, it's come out, like we said, in the media that Russ was playing through injury, but I don't know, there was still some sort of little individual errors, a couple of drops here and there and things like that. It's just little things where, route running just didn't seem, that Russ was getting the ball out, but they weren't on the same page, him and the receivers, and just little things that it's got to come good is how we kind of sit here looking at it. You're going, Russell Wilson has not turned poor overnight.
No.
He's dealing with an injury. When it clicks, I'm going to say it all season until it does, but when it clicks, it will be good. We know on the other side of the ball, we're going to get it back plenty. We're going to put it in his hands plenty. But yeah, it's so again, not as a synopsis of those 3 games, very, very disappointed, but not panicking. I've seen a lot of stuff in the press at the moment. Was it Derek Wolf come out saying, have we been catfished by the hype and things like that? And no, for me, I think a lot of people are jumping on that, but for me, I think we just got to ride with it. We've got a long week now till the Chargers game.
Hopefully get a few players back healthy. Like I said, we'll shore up that right side of the line. What I'm holding out hope for is that if we beat the Chargers, I mean, they look like they nearly threw away the game last night against the Browns. Unfortunately, the Browns outcharged the Chargers. So, if that was even possible somehow. But if we could beat them, we're 1-1 in the division. We're still in with the fight, and hopefully the sort of the bad negativity will turn into positivity. So, I'm holding out hope.
Yeah, and it's been such a tight competition across the board this season. There's other than the Eagles, and there's a couple of teams, they've moved to 4-1 now, but there's so many sat, 2-3, 3-2, that nobody's out of it at this point. So it just takes one, and then hopefully kick on from one to get a little good run. Praying and hoping that Russ doesn't have to, and nothing against Brett Rippon, but we've brought Russ in for a reason, and we want that momentum, wanting to sort of keep playing, so it builds up that rapport and it hopefully clicks. But just praying he doesn't have to lose time through this injury, especially with them heading to London in a few weeks. It'll be,
Can you
want to see him prime Russ.
Can you imagine if we trot all the way down to London and we get to see Brett Rippon play?
Yeah.
That'll be.
It could be Brett Rippon and the practice squad, the way things are going injury wise, couldn't it? But,
I mean, hey, if you take your jersey down, you might get on. At this rate, might get signed up the day before. Hopefully not. After the Colts game, there was another tweet out there. I love reading Twitter for all these little facts. We lead the league in drops, which obviously doesn't help Russ. We lead the league in penalties. That will come as no surprise to you, although we did seem to clean it up a little bit in the last game. So I think we're coming good there. I also think the game management situation has become a lot better. So whether Hackett is leaning on his guy in the booth a little bit more.
Yeah, Jerry Rosberg. Yeah. I mean, for me, Matt, I think the penalties and stuff, I think it did get better. The game management, it did, and then it dropped off in the Colts, and there was a couple of questionable decisions, wasn't it? When the interception rushed through near the end, when and it's just little things, but or little things are actually quite big things in the end, because it could have got us, new set of downs.
We could quite easily be sat at 4-1 at the season if we just decide not to shoot ourselves in the foot and just make silly mistakes, and which we've just been doing time and time again. But it's been the story of the Broncos for the last few seasons, and our luck has got to sort of improve soon, I think.
Yeah, and there's, like you say, there's more and more questions being asked around Russ, around Hackett. Is he ready to be a head coach? And as I said in the early ones, for me, I really hope so. I do think he's a great character, and I hope it does come. But there's some little questions, but from the first 2 weeks, when we the penalties and the game decisions, then which we talked about, in the silly ones, not having a punt return on the pitch and things like that. Silly pre-snap penalties and stuff as well. And it was now it's tidied up a little bit, trending in the right direction, I would say. But still a bit of work to do. I think one thing I've noticed in the Colts game. Oh, sorry, Matt. I was just saying one thing I noticed in the Colts game was some of the play calling at times. You're looking at it, and I don't know which game it was. I think it might have been the 49ers game, where we seemed to run a lot of screen passes in quick succession, and we had a lot of luck with it. And then against the Colts on Friday, I think he threw a little screen pass to Melvin Gordon or Boone, and we got quite a bit of yardage with it. And then that was the only time we really saw it happen. And it's, at the moment, if we kind of hit the big plays downfield, and the Colts, they sat up short, like, the commentator said it during the game, they were just getting men behind there in the secondary, and they weren't going to let up any big yard players. So, that was maybe the time to rely on the short plays and the screen passes, where we were getting a little bit of luck. But again, I think these stuff will come. We've still got, despite the injuries, a lot of sort of weapons in the arsenal, and it just needs to click.
I think, like you said, the screen passes and stuff. What we see last year when I was watching the games last year, we saw a lot of Jerry Jeudy, pre-snap running past the quarterback, faking the handoff, and he was never going to get the ball. I thought we'd seen the end of that, but this season I keep seeing it, and I'm like, just give him the ball, let him run with it sometimes. We've been doing it. We've given it to Montreal, and I thought he's looked decent. We don't seem to be throwing to Montreal at all, but I'm excited to see what sort of Jeudy and Montreal and even Hinton can do now, if they just start catching the ball. Let's play basic football. Let's catch the football when it's thrown to you.
100%. And how big a loss is it showing that Tim Patrick's out, for the season with that reason, Mr. Dependable, never dropped a ball for us, really, again, it's these little things, you hold on to a couple more, you get a new set of downs. It's a different game at times. That's the difference, and the drops have cost us big.
I think it'd be wrong of us to not even mention the player of the week for 2 weeks in a row for me, Corliss Watman. Hunter of the gods has, after he got criticised by Stoops outed him, didn't he? I think he's played lights out. He's constantly pinning them back.
And I'm left-footed like him, Mark, but it doesn't look right to see left-footed. No. It just when he's catching the ball, it's just like, is this this is not going to end well. But yeah, it's just it must just be used to seeing right-footed punters. But
have you been out practicing in the garden? Have you?
Well, I've lost me one ball. But there's another injury that's just come out, and long snapper's out for us.
Jacob Bob and Moyer. So we'll be on the market for a new long snapper, I guess, if we've not already got one on the sort of roster.
Well,
Nathaniel Hackett was a long snapper, wasn't he? He was. I think he was in his high school days or college days or something. He was definitely a long snapper. So let's get him on.
Well, but I did read that I think we tried out 8 or 9 pre-season through camp or whatever. So hopefully that's quite a quick fix, and we get one in quite soon. But because we don't want to, like you say, one of our better players in recent weeks, and one that we hope we don't have to see much more in the coming weeks. But sort of punting the ball, hopefully it's never as bad as it was on Thursday night.
Oh, God, I know. So, what things coming up for the Chargers game? Obviously, Monday Night Football again. We're on prime time again. It'll be a late one for us over in Europe, or an early one, depending on your take on things. But what are you looking forward to seeing, and what sort of do you want the Broncos to clean up a little bit?
Yeah, I think again from the Colts game, Mark. I think a little bit. I think Hackett's got to go back to the board just a little bit. I think again it has been trending in the right direction, but just have a think about those game time decisions. See how we can see some games out, because at the moment, if we're going to win, it looks like we're going to win a little bit ugly, and and a decision that can swing it 3 points either way could end the game essentially. So, but in terms of play, I think we've got to. It'll be nice to see us establish the run game a little bit, and I know it's a risk, and I know people are going to be, well, have we got the players? But we'll have Murray coming in before. We've got 3 potentially experienced running backs, and Gordon did look like he was trying his best to protect the ball against the Colts.
He was not letting it drop, was he?
No, and that's all you can ask of any player. Is Hackett did it early season when he found out his own downfalls. He tried to put it right, and
admit your mistakes
it's been a long
and
time
move on.
for Melvin, but he's trying to put it right. So I'd like to see the run game get established a little bit, but passing game, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It doesn't have to be that 40-yard bomb to KJ Hamlet, but just some consistent ground eating plays. Do you know what I mean?
I was going to say, do we just go back to basics and just play to Russ's strengths? Let him just short passes. He doesn't usually throw between the sticks, does he? Between the hashes, he just likes to sort of hit the outside. Do we just keep going to Cortland? He's been dependable so far this season. He's had a couple of drops, but on the most part, he's been our best wide receiver. Do you hear? I'll be interested to see if Greg Dulwich as well comes in. He should be practicing this week. And we've got, I think OJ Moody is coming back as well. So that'll be that's a bit more
promising,
depth
isn't it?
in the secondary.
But I think Cortland's the number one, and I think that's a little bit what we've got to be mindful of as well, Mark, because that's teams will double down because we're not getting the rapport, we're not getting the connections between the others. Albert Orr, again, big player, big weapon, but not being used, and it's. But for me, see these short to medium passes. Let's just eat up some yardage and see if we can just gain a little bit ground. Just be nice to see the connections. Get the drops out of the picture, the things that costing us at times, and just move on. And I think as long as the D play like they did any other game but the Raiders, I think we're in with a shot in any game. I think that's the thing. I mean, just one player again noted down, Mark. I think we chatted about it on the night, but Caden Stearns has come in and been phenomenal as well. So it's
he just looks like a bona fide starter, doesn't he? I think Kareem's played well, to be honest, but you wouldn't mind any combination of the 3 of Simmons, Stearns, and Jackson. But it won't be long before he starts. If it's midway through this season when Simmons is back, or next season, I'm not sure we keep Jackson around.
No, there was talks of that this year, wasn't there? And things, and he's getting a little bit older, and it's just good that we've got somebody who we can depend on.
And even, even behind Stearns, you've got PJ Locke, whose injury the other night actually kept us in our base package a lot more. We couldn't switch it around, so that could have had a big impact on that game as well. But we've got some fantastic depth at safety, so I'm really not worried there. Yeah. Shall we move on to a little bit of London news?
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't got too much information to share, but if anyone is heading down to London to watch the Broncos in a couple of weeks, we will be at the Green Man pub on the Saturday night. There'll be a group of us there from around, well, I think we've got it all evening really, from about 6 o'clock onwards. But there'll be a group there. There'll be a chance to enter a free giveaway that Renee is kindly sorting for us, which I won't give away too much details on, but it includes sort of tickets to the Broncos game in Denver and a lot of add-ons, so definitely worthwhile entering that. There'll be little packs that we are giving away to people, might be a little live stream for you to sort of chip in with. And then on game day itself, we will be at Green Man again in the morning from 9 a.m. Just for a tailgate party where we can all meet up, have a good chat about Broncos and get ready for the game, and then we'll all walk down to the game together. So I know myself and Kieran will be at those events along with a few more familiar faces, I hope.
Yeah, really looking forward to it, Mark. And I think, like you say, there's a few in the Discord group, a few on Facebook and everything like that. And it's nice, again, some of our followers on Twitter from across the pond who are making the journey have reached out and such, and looking forward to meeting up with the guys as well. So it's going to be an exciting couple of days. Really
should be, it should be a really fun event. And then you just said the Discord. Then, if you do want to join the Discord or the Facebook group, just search Broncos Europe on Facebook. You will find the group. You'll have to request access. But you'll be granted pretty much straight away, and the Discord link will be in the description below for you to click and join. And we have a lot of game day chat on there. We have just a lot of interesting chats on there, don't we?
Yeah.
So you stared at me blankly then.
No, we do. Yeah, I think the last couple of weeks has been more interesting than others because it's been a roller coaster, like we said, early doors and things like that. And but yeah, it's good. It's nice just to have that community who all want to talk Broncos football. So
exactly, and that's all we want. That's what we're about: spreading the news, Broncos news around Europe, because we are sort of the leading community over here for Broncos fans. So I think that leaves us on to just saying, if you have enjoyed sort of chatting with us, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out. Give us a like on this video. And please leave some comments below, and we will get round to them answering in next week's live streams. Of course, next week we'll discuss a bit more about the Chargers game. We'll have our picks for the week, which is getting closer, I think. I'm pulling it back slightly. I wish I hadn't backed the Lions this week, but we'll move on from that quickly. I know that
I got you on the bandwagon.
I know. I feel silly for being suckered into the Lions bandwagon now. But as ever, thank you so much for joining me, Kieran, and we'll join